Hello, my name is Shilpa Bhatkande, and today my presentation topic is on online fraud detection using deep learning for large scale. I am a student at UHV doing my master's in computer information system under the supervision of Dr. Hardik Gohel. So let's move ahead and see what are the online fraud going on these days. We see a lot in newspaper globally each year. Tens of millions, billions of dollars are lost to online fraud. Online frauds have become a major problem in many countries with millions of victims. Coordinated malicious user accounts, either created anew or obtained via user hijacking, actively targeted the various modern online service for real world financial gain. Cyber criminals have been extremely successful in adapting their tactics to exploit people's responses to lockdown and general uncertainty of past year that we have seen recently due to COVID-19 through impersonation and manipulation attacks. So many attacks have been very false subscriptions and something like that. So the modern attacks are diversified and coordinated. As we see in the diagram, existing fraud solutions either rely on a reputation list or blocking known suspicious activities or require extensive feature engineering by human analyst for model training, that is deep learning. These approaches do not adapt well to changing fraud patterns. So every pattern is new and it comes with new technology. There is always a new fraud. So it's very important to be up to date with the fraud aspects, nor are able to scale to larger data volumes. So artificial intelligence also underpins the pioneering active defense approach to fraud prevention, as responses to attempted fraud attacks are automated. Blocking bad actors from penetrating fraud in real time as soon as the threat is detected is very important. The platform recognizes an attempted attack and risk mitigation immediately takes place, ranging from automatically deploying customizable defensive overlays to stepped up authentication to session termination or even account lockout when phishing, malware, or remote access Trojan attacks are detected. The larger number of payment accounts we see that impacted through fraud impacts that majority of organizations go through, who's liable for fraud losses, primary reasons companies experience losses. There are many aspects where larger number of payment accounts go through in the organizations, as more likely they have been exposed to online payment fraud specifically. So generally, a company is liable for payment fraud losses that occur because the company failed to protect its systems. So, for example, failure to enforce internal controls, internal fraud by employees, loss, theft, or counterfeit payroll checks, mismanagement of online users, suspend of or delete and inappropriate accounts, changes of vendor addresses to employees' address, match your AP vendor address file to the employee file, failure to use of fraud failure to use of fraud protection. So common digital information in application level events, we have seen so many people due to financial, social, e-commerce, mobile. So any global intelligent networks are failing to fulfill the fraud aspect. So specialists analyze activities from many accounts across global online service to detect fraud and abuse. These data gives us unique insight into the online fraud landscape that allow us to tackle the coordinated fraud attacks holistically. So, serving Machine learning, deep learning in production is very challenging because there's a huge data coordinated. We need to follow up good training concept so that the results are being at least close to what is expected. So solutions represent one of the few production examples where deep learning models are applied to security problems. The results demonstrated by deep learning solution outperforms traditional backlist and machine learning approaches significantly at maybe terabyte data scale. So the required surrounding infrastructure is very vast and complex. Deep learning tools have evolved significantly in recent years. So here I represent a real-time scalable online fraud detection solutions backed by deep learning technique. Nowadays, most learning applications are seen in actively studied fields, including computer vision, natural language processing, etc. So understanding the inference results in crucial to anti-fraud application and the typical machine learning workflow that is we are seeing on the screen right now. So this is all being able to post analyze on the inferred data in crucial for model development anti-fraud. So the requirements could be threat anti-fraud application, training serving, or post-analyst understanding model performance by any new applications. So the deep learning solution is based on digital information commonly collected by online services, including IP addresses, user agent strings, email domains, user nicknames, etc. Um, we build, the building of general fraud detection framework, which can identify fraudulent activities in log data that contain all or maybe a subnet of some part. These common digital information is very mandatory to keep a track on. So by leveraging common digital information, the model is agnostic to the specific application or service from which data queries originate. So the best practices we can follow are legal disclaimer, restrict access to accounts and financial information, keeping up with technology. So avoiding giving one person too much financial responsibility and access but is not a good idea. So separating financial duties out among a number of employees, having financial staff take turns with various tasks, business owners should review bank account statements regularly. This is one of the example in the banking domain. So flag selected accounts, maybe credit debit, only post the latest checks with account restrictions. So regularly updating firewalls, spyware, antivirus software on servers, and individually computer install each new patch and version update the computer operating systems, then implement multiple layers of security, implement better solution in technology infrastructure is best way to go and stop fraudulent activities. So there's more on how we can protect, that is detect fraud on time, internal controls that have an outside accounting firm conduct regular audits of business finances to uncover potential vulnerability, conduct your own unannounced audits internally to check day-to-day processes, monitor business bank accounts constantly for unusual activities, give employees, customers, and business partners the ability to report suspected fraud anonymously, review daily activities online, implement physical controls over pre-printed check stocks, signatures, close accounts with which have had previous fraudulent activities, something like that, or keep unauthorized up to date authorizations up to date, and know your vendors who are there, have the details written so that you can always defer and track back whenever necessary. So Coming towards the end of the presentation, we see that how deep learning is really effective and can be tracked by huge data and large number of fraudulent activities, and how we can reduce it. So fraud prevention is only successful if both of the banks, for example, and their business clients do their part, need to continue employ best practices in fraud prevention, including employee education and use fraud prevention products, where appropriate organizations need to be proactive rather than reactive when focusing on fraud, as criminals and fraudsters continue to involve. So, should companies and their risk mitigation strategies should be inspected and expect what is unexpected. So be up to date, and this way the fraud will be too much under control. This is my end of the presentation. Thank you so much. Hope you all liked it.